Hey folks, Daily Landsberg for October does he know the date? He's hesitating. Is he aware of what's going on in the world? The 20th, 2018. That was right? Yes. Yeah, okay. So earlier this morning, or yesterday morning as you watch this, I did an interview with Johnny Manziel. You know, if you're a sports fan, you know the name Johnny Manziel. If you're not, Johnny Manziel was a Heisman Trophy winner, which is the biggest award you can win in college football in the United States. Everybody knew about him. Johnny Football, I believe, was on the cover of Time magazine. That's how big he was. Total bust in the National Football League. He had all kinds of problems. His behavior was totally irrational. He was drinking. It was bizarre just how out of touch he was with how he was coming across. So his career disappeared, and he was given kind of a second chance in the Canadian Football League, and he signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They ended up trading him to Montreal, which is not relevant to any of this, except that sometime between the end of his NFL career and the time that he came to Canada, he was diagnosed with bipolar disease or bipolar illness. And that explains a lot of his behavior. And at the time, people said, oh, yeah, sure, he's probably just making it up, using it as an excuse. Well, I spoke to him today for the first time, and I was floored by his maturity, by his self-awareness, by his understanding of his illness, and most of all, Johnny Manziel, the cockiest swagger on the planet, talked about how he was portraying himself in a certain way because he did not see himself in that way, that he was depressed back then, and he overcompensated and did all kinds of things that he says, when I look at now, I realized how out of control my life was. But now, here he is, a couple of years after that, and he sounds like a totally different guy. And you could say, well, just because he sounds that way, maybe he's not. Well, I will tell you that he has been totally respected by the two teams that he's played for, that he has at least publicly not made a single miscue. And here is an example, the highest profile example of a guy whose life was out of control, who was really devoid of joy in his life, which is pretty shocking when you consider of all the great things that were going on in his life and of how he appeared to be loving life, and how a diagnosis of mental illness gave him his life back. And second of all, and maybe from our standpoint, most importantly, here's a guy who is out there now speaking about his illness without shame and without embarrassment. Listening to the interview, which you can see the link on this, listening to his voice, listening to him talk, I thought, oh my gosh, he's saying the same things that we have been saying. And I just wanted to say, it's not like he's watching now, Johnny Manziel, totally shocked by how incredibly well you were able to communicate this. And you, with one interview, change lives and perhaps save lives. And let's do more of it. Yes, I am recruiting you for a SickNotWeak performance. This is SickNotWeak and SickNotWeak.com, 24 hours a day, 364 days a year. I realize, Case, I realize that if we're trying to explain why we do 364, one explanation could be Bell Let's Talk Day, right? Yeah, we could take that day off because that's one day when the country doesn't need the same message from us. Yeah, I just thought of that now. I just realized it now. What are you saying? You judging me?
No.
Yeah?
Nope. I'm cutting, though.